Alright, what's up guys, Chokosur here, and we're back with another Secret of Mana Randomizer Seed of the Week. This is number 257, and for this week we have a Mana Tree Revival Seed for this week. Alright, so we're just going to get on down to it. This is going to be a weekly seed review. I've done a couple of these in the past, so for those of you who don't know what these are, a weekly seed review is basically where I go over the seed and point out, mistakes that I've made, or I show why I'm doing what I'm doing. I explain my decision making, my routing decisions, and basically why I'm making those decisions. For an example of that, you can view Seed of the Week number 247. There's a couple of others in between that one and this one, but 247 is pretty much the first one that I did as far as weekly seed reviews. Alright, so anyway, we have 10 flags for this weekly seed. You can see them on the upper right there. We started off with the girl. We have restrictive logic as always. Flaming Drum is also in logic as well. Hints are disabled for this seed, so we won't have access to those. The main thing of this seed is 3.0 experience multiplier, and this is a very dangerous flag if you don't know how to handle it. We've had seeds with 3.0 XP multiplier before. It's basically a seed where you want to save split everything, and this flag can get you into trouble if you end up killing too many bosses, or you have a seed where you're forced to kill a lot of bosses. Of course, this is Mana Tree Revival, so Pure Land is required, so that's 6 bosses right there. But if you run into like a high complexity seed, then you're going to have to kill a bunch of bosses for checks and whatnot, so that's where this flag can get pretty dangerous. The other flags, both characters at current level, random enemy spawns, 6 seeds required, 100 gold start. And random status ailments set to awful. So yeah, honestly I didn't find this seed too bad, but I had to play aggressive for this seed because I wanted to try and route this so that I did not kill a lot of bosses, or try to route this in that way. Sometimes, I mean, you could try to route a seed, but the seed won't let you route it like that. So anyway, we start with the girl, and we do actually get a pretty good start here. We start off with the whip. We start off with a strength whip, I believe, and the water seed in the basement. So already we're 1 seed up, and we're not even 20 seconds into the seed. So the whip has strength on it, like I said. And also, as I said a minute ago, I wanted to play this early game like hyper aggressively. So I decided to make my way down to Pandora Ruins. I didn't want to check Mantis Sand. I didn't want to do my usual route. I want to go straight to Pandora Ruins because we want to make as many checks as we can while killing as few bosses as possible. Alright, so again, it's random enemy spawns, so I have to be careful on what we run across. I also do not want to kill too many enemies early on, because we will spike level 2 after, I believe, 5 enemies. Might be 6, I'm not sure. I think it's 6 though. So I'm swinging here just to see what's over here, in case there's something dangerous like a goblin or a werewolf or something. Alright, so I end up going into the shop here. I'm looking for something like a power wrist, a hair ribbon, elbow pad, but none of that was there. So I buy 3 candies instead. And the 3 candies is specifically for the Pandora Ruins boss. Of course, we don't know what it is yet, but I didn't feel as though I needed 7 candies, because my plan was to, you know, try to get to the boss at level 1 so it doesn't have much HP. Of course, there's a chance that there's something that has naturally high HP, like a Dark Lich or a dragon, perhaps. So, we're kind of rolling the dice there. So, I also saved as well, in case I couldn't beat the boss. Alright, so I am carefully trying to make my way through Pandora Ruins. We don't want to take hits here because we want to save our HP for the boss. We don't want to take any unnecessary hits here. Remember, we don't have any armor. We have base armor. And we've got random enemy spawns. Alright, so we're making our way down to the boss. And I constantly have to watch for the enemies here. Alright, so you noticed I swung at the wall before hitting that mushroom. The reason for that is because I have a strength weapon. And we're popping these enemies in one hit. I don't want to take too much experience right now because we'll pop level 2. And I do believe it is 6 enemies for level 2. It might be 7 actually. But anywho, we come across a mech rider, which is actually pretty dangerous in this situation because again we have no armor, and that was a nice crit right there. And you notice me backing up to the spikes. I'm trying to let him expire his speed up timer for a little bit, because those of you who know how mech rider works, he fires his missiles when he has speed up active. So we want to make sure that, okay, it's a little bit dangerous here. I decided to swing and I have to heal right here because he's charging at me. Of course, level 0 speed up doesn't last that long on him. So the rest of this fight goes pretty well. We did have to heal once. I'm going into the fight thinking I may have to heal several times because those missiles can stack damage on you. They can stack up to, I believe, 30 damage at level 1. And that's the situation you want to try to avoid with that guy, because those 3 missiles can hit you and he can charge you right after that. So, yeah, Mech Rider can be pretty dangerous when you don't have defense. Alright, so we end up getting Gnome, which is nice. And right here I decided to cast Speed Up and I believe 2 defenders as well, and that is because I wanted to get Gnome to level 1 while I have the MP to do it. Of course, higher level Gnome means speed up lasts longer, and that is what we want. Alright, so we're running over toward the second shop here in Pandora. Again, I'm looking for cheap stuff, and we do find something cheap in the quill cap. So we happily purchased that and we slapped that bad boy on for 10 defense and 10 magic defense. So now we're a bit more sturdier as far as defense. We still don't have an armband yet, but we'll solve that problem when we get to it. So yeah, we're running over toward the treasury, and we're running toward the Prim check here. I think she had an orb. Yeah, just a bow orb on her. So the reason why I did Pandora Ruins first is because we have 8 checks. Well, it's 8 if you count Prim. It's actually 7. 7 checks by only killing 1 boss. And we got lucky, we found 1200 gold and the flaming drum as well as the light seed. So now we have 2 seeds as well as the flaming drum. So that means now we get to do freebies. Alright, so I'm thinking to myself at this point, I need to route this in a way so that I don't kill a bunch of bosses. And 2, I want to go to Pure Land as early as possible. Because the last thing we want to do on a seed like this with 3.0 XP multiplier is leave Pure Land for later. That is what you absolutely do not want to do. So I wanted to make sure I ended my freebies route somewhere on the western side of the world. So that's why we are going to do freebies on the eastern side of the world first. We want to get those out of the way. I stopped by Kaipo, one, to check the shop, and there was some boy specific equipment there, and two, to refill my MP because we used it earlier for those spells. Alright, so next stop is Lighthouse. We'll go ahead and grab this check real fast. And we get a midge mallet for our climb up the tower, which is nice to have. So now my route is going to include both Ice Country checks, Ice Palace chest, as well as Santa's house. Now keep in mind we do have the whip, so that means you can full clear Ice Palace with this setup, but again, we don't want to be killing bosses right now. Alright, so we're making our way up to the check, and our speed up runs out right here, so I'll go ahead and replace it with a level 1 speed up this time. Because level 0 speed up is absolute garbage, as far as uptime anyway. And we find silver in the chest, which is nice to have. We have 2 seeds, so it's possible that we can level our magic to level 2. But we're not going to do that right now. Alright, so now we head down towards Santa's house and pick up this check. And I do believe, if I recall, this was the Moogle belt. Yeah. I was honestly considering resetting out of that, but I figured it might come in handy if something Moogles me maybe, so I might as well just keep it. We head on down to Northtown here with the intention of doing the Northtown Castle chests and the Northtown Ruins chests. But first we check the shop and see if we can get anything for the girl here. We see Cobra Bracelet, we see Spiky Suit, we also see Silver Band, but I pick up the Cobra Bracelet. Now, I could have foregone picking that up, but of course we don't know where Power Wrist is, so that's why I decided to say, you know what, let's just pick this up just in case I don't find Power Wrist. That way I'll have something. Not to mention we have 1200 gold and it's what, 280 gold, so it's not that bad. Alright, coming into Northtown Castle, we're running toward the chest here. We get a sword orb and we find Undini. Okay, so this guy actually fires Lucent Beam and stops my rope, but thankfully we managed to get into the menu again and pretty much cancel that Lucent Beam out. Yeah, sometimes those guys can cast Lucent Beam. It's not often, but they can. So seeing Undini, I'm thinking to myself, alright, now we have a good way to heal without buying candies and chocolates. It is 3.0 XP multiplier, and I know somewhere down the line my armor is going to get outdated. So Cure Water could come in handy later on in the seed. Alright, so now we're heading down to the Northtown Ruins checks. We want to make sure we clear all the freebies in the seed. So we do want to go for the back chest. We have the defense, we can do it. We're level 4. The enemies aren't doing anything at this point, so might as well do it. Alright, so we rope out and we head on to the other side. I do believe I checked my status menu at some point during this run as well. And there goes speed up again. Now you may be asking me why I'm killing enemies here. And the reason for that is because I want to keep tabs of my experience to next level so we can get an MP refill at a good time. Not to mention we just spent another 3 MP for speed up. I do check my status menu here, don't I? I'm pretty sure I do. At some point I do. Because I do remember killing a few mobs on the way down here. I think I check it now. Yeah. Alright, so 51 XP to level up. Down to 33, so we're looking at, what, 6 experience per? Oh no, it's more like... I think it was more like 11 or something like that. I don't even know. But it's quite a bit. So we get down to 6 MP. Or 6 experience rather, not MP. Also, the next level is a pretty important level up because at level 5, Prim has 9 max MP, which means I can cast speed up 3 times. It's pretty much a breakpoint. It's an MP breakpoint. Level 5 is an MP breakpoint for Prim and the Sprite too, for that matter. So now you notice me not trying to kill any enemies because I think I was 6 experience away from level 5. And I think enemies give, I want to say 9 experience. Alright, so we find the boy and the axe in the back chest in Northtown Ruins, which is pretty important, so I have to keep it. Because, again, there could be, you know, stuff that's axe locked, and we want those. Free stuff that's axe locked, anyway. Alright, so now my destination is Southtown. We're going to go talk to Mira, see what's on her. Actually, I think I'm down to 2 MP with the girl. Pretty sure I'm actually down to 2 MP here. Alright, but anywho, at this point I'm thinking I saw Steel Cap and Spiky Suit in Kaipo's shop. We also saw Spiky Suit in Northtown, I believe. And we also saw Cobra Bracelet. So, at some point I want to get some armor on the boy. Alright, so here I decided to use my last 2 MP to put Defender up on the board. I get slowed, unfortunately, but it's fine because Prim still has her speed up active, so it doesn't matter. I could cast Remedy on him, but it doesn't matter here. Alright, so we pop an enemy there to spike level 5, which means now my Prim has 9 max MP. And of course, the enemies will spike to level 5 as well. Alright, so we're heading for the Sunken City chest here, which we can get to since we have the axe. I got a little bit greedy here. I do have Analyzer, but I probably should have just left this chest alone. I was hoping for like 500 bucks, but we didn't get it, which is unfortunate. Alright, speed up runs off again. And now Gnome spikes level 2. So now we're heading for the Grand Palace chest. We can grab these because we have both the axe and the whip. So I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't have bothered with Sunken Continent if I didn't have both the axe and the whip, but since I do, I might as well check these. You never know if they have, you know, mana seeds or spirits or a wayward sprite maybe. But of course we didn't get any of that, just the boomerang orb. Alright, so we flame me out. And then I believe my next stop from here was, I want to say Kaipo to get armor for the boy. Because my plan here was to hit up early game free checks. yeah, we stopped at Kaipo. Because again, like I said, we saw the steel cap, we saw the spiky suit earlier in the shop, and I want to get those on the boy, so he actually has something to work with for now. And they're nice and cheap. Now, this is a seed where you can potentially get a lot of money, because we do get an early sylphid, so I mean, I suppose the player can just analyze chests and whatnot, so I mean, you can do that. I chose not to, but it's possible. I'll go ahead and cast speed up on the boy here, since he has defense now and he can actually run through stuff without getting smacked up. And I cast it inside the end there because I knew it wasn't going to gain any experience since I have only 2 mana seeds right now. So it doesn't matter if you cast it in the end or with your weapons out at this point. It's not going to gain XP anywhere until we find another mana seed. Alright, so we're coming down to Gaia's Navel. I decided to go for the magic rope chest. Again, we're trying to get all the freebies here. And at this point, I decided to level up my analyzer for the reason I mentioned earlier. Could be a situation where I do need to kill some enemies and I get some chest drops. I can just analyze the chest and remove the traps. Alright, we find the gold key right there, which actually puts another free check on my route in the Light Palace chest. Alright, so Silver hits level 2 right there. And good timing because we're coming upon another inn. I can just spend a few more gold pieces just to sleep. I'm also noticing on the tracker that I have 3 axe orbs and 4 whip orbs. And guess what I'm using? And I also noticed that my axe has strength on it. Alright, so I checked the shop here. We see Cobra Bracelet, we see Chain Vest. Now, I do believe this ended up being a misplay. And the reason why is because I checked other shops later in hopes of getting something like, you know, Kung Fu dress or raccoon cap or something like that. But I decided to take those anyway. I honestly probably should have skipped that shop. And again, we're doing the same thing like we did in Kaipo. We're casting speed up on the boy. It doesn't gain XP. And we did that just to refresh the speed up timer. Not to mention PRIMM'S speed up is about to wear off soon. Alright, so we got a Boom Orb on Elder. We check Earth Palace Orb. We find out it's Salamander. We can't do anything about it. We don't have Salamander. And we check the Kilroy chest for another Whip Orb. So I'm sitting on 5 Whip Orbs, which is absolutely insane. So technically right now my Whip can get to level 6. But we're not going to do that. That's just preposterous. Alright, so my next stop here is going to be the sword pedestal because it's right around the corner. So basically I'm cleaning up the middle part of the world here. We want to end our freebies route on the western side of the world so we can hit up Pure Land. And the reason we want to hit up Pure Land early is because it's 3.0 XP multiplier and that flag is miserable. Especially if this ends up being a high complexity seed. So we want to get Pure Land done ASAP. So that was the reasoning of why I routed my freebies route the way I did. Alright, so we're making our way toward the sword pedestal. We're not worried about the enemies here. Everything is still level 5. And we find Lumina. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, Lumina's nice, but is it necessary to level her up? And my answer here was no. Reason being is because I'm sitting on 2 strength weapons. I have Gnome. I also don't have an int weapon. So Lumina doesn't really see much action overall on this seed. I think I cast her a couple of times later on, but I decided not to level her up to 2. I could have. The other reason why I didn't want to be bothered with Lumina is because Lumina's spells are giga expensive. 4 MP is a lot in this part of the run. Is a lot. Oh, there's another whip orb, so that makes 6. Alright, so let's see. Moogle Village had nothing. Matango, I believe we check the shop and we find the power wrist. Now, I decided to buy it, knowing that I already have a Cobra bracelet, and that's when I said earlier that dwarf shop play was a mistake. I should have just not checked it at all and just trusted in the rando. But sometimes you just get impatient and you want armor right away. So it is what it is. We make a quick stop to Gold Isle. Since we do have the gold key, we can make this chest check real quick. And again, I'm checking the shop because I'm a dingus and I should not have checked this shop. But guess what we find here? Kung Fu dress and raccoon cap. So I end up picking up the Kung Fu dress for the girl since she has a chain vest, and I end up selling that chain vest. Like I said, I think that dwarf shop play was such a bad play. Such a bad play. I should have just looked at it and not bought anything at all. But it's okay. So we pick up this chest and we get another glove orb, and then we just peace on out of here. Alright, so now I'm thinking to myself, alright, I need to go ahead and make my way toward the western part of the world now. So I think my next stop was, I believe, Dark Palace. Yes. Okay, so Dark Palace stop. There's 2 chests here. We have the axe, so we can get through. And we also have the whip, so we can actually clear the way through here. We can't do the check. We can't do the check because we don't have the dark seed, but my thought process was, if I find the dark seed, then I could come back and finish this check. So that's why I decided to open the way to the dark seed pedestal. And unfortunately, we get ballooned at a really bad spot. So I had to end up casting Remedy there to get rid of it, which cost a few seconds. I also decided to refresh the speed up on the boy. And we also find the sword here. So the sword is not really that important at this point because we have the axe already. And I think I do check it here too. Yeah, we do check the sword, and it does have intelligence on it. So I'm thinking, I got an int weapon now. That's fine if I find a sprite or something. So I decided to just, hang on to it. Alright, so we open up the way to the pedestal, we rope out, we walk back in, and we grab the portcullis chest up here. I don't think the portcullis chest had anything of note. No, just a jab hook. Alright, so Dark Palace is cleaned out. So now we make our way down towards, I believe, Tasnica. Yeah, this is when I started cleaning out the western part of the world here. Because like I said, I want to end this freebies run near Pure Land. So the closest place to Pure Land is Kakara. So I wanted to end my freebies run there. But as I was running this seed, I'm thinking to myself, well, this is probably going to be an okay Pure Land run. Oh, we find the moon seed, right? I forgot about the moon seed. So we do find the moon seed here in Tastica, which is absolutely wonderful because now we can actually attempt to check that. Because we have both Lumina and Sylphid. So that gives us a 2 out of 3 chance that we can complete the moon seed check. Alright, so total RL, just a sword orb. Nothing important there. We move on. I can't remember if I checked Fire Palace orb or not. I did not. Okay, so we just bypass Fire Palace and go straight to Moon Palace because I wanted to see what the orb here was. I just got the Moon Seed, so we can turn this in. This is now a free check. This is a 2 out of 3 chance this is a free check. If this ends up being Salamando, I'm really sad, but thankfully it was Lumina, which we have. So that means we can most definitely finish the Moon Palace here, and it ends up being a free check. And of course, Moon Palace doesn't take that long at all to do. And thankfully I had enough MP to cast Lucent Beam, otherwise I would have been pretty annoyed because then I'd have to go back and sleep somewhere. Alright, Moon Palace pedestal has 1600 gold, which is actually nice because now my thought process was, alright, I want to try and look for a strong weapon to kill Pure Land bosses with. Yes, our weapons have strength on them, but they're level 1 weapons. And these enemies are going to spike up faster than they normally do. So I want to make sure I have a good weapon to get through Pure Land. So I drop a save in Kakara. And then I go to Watts to see what my weapons look like. I probably should have checked the shop right there just for the info, but I didn't for some reason. I didn't care about PRIMM'S weapon too much. I wanted to see what was on the axe. Okay, so strength on the level 2 axe. Level 3 axe was Khan, I think. No, agility stone. Okay, that's also a decent weapon. If I were killing normal mobs, it would be. But I wanted to forge again. And I did end up forging her whip as well. So dragon strength and stone is actually huge. And we got strength on PRIMM'S whip as well. So we're rocking 2 stone weapons, which is fine. But that axe, that level 4 axe is massive. Dragon damage, strength, and stone. Absolutely huge. So now, we save, and we make our way toward Pure Land. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I don't have Luna. In this situation, I have a level 4 axe and gnome. I don't need Luna. Luna would just be overkill. Not to mention, we never found it. But the intention here, and what I'm doing here is killing enemies to get this axe to at least level 3. So we can pop these bosses quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because for level 5, this level 4 axe is actually insane. Actually insane. Okay, we do spike level 6, which is fine. But I wasn't worried about level spikes at this point. Alright, so first boss in Pure Land ends up being a Tropicalo, which... yeah, it's kind of slow, but again, we have that level 4 axe. And we managed to get it to level 3 by killing those few enemies earlier, so we're doing some pretty big hits on this thing. Not to mention, it's level 5. The boss is level 5 anyway. And he dies right there. Alright, so as the boss is dying, I decided to recast speed up on the boy and I also put up some defender spells. I'm doing this to take advantage of the 3.0 XP multiplier and the level up, refilling PRIMM'S MP there. It's little things like that that make all the difference in runs like these. Now, Prim doesn't necessarily need the defense, not right now anyway, but it's to get some spell experience on Gnome. Because now we have 3 seeds, our Gnome can get to level 3. Alright, so we're heading toward the next boss in Pure Land. I don't remember if my axe hit level 4 or not. I don't think it did. Alright, so we got a Mantis Ant, so I decided to cast Thunder Saber here because my axe is Earth Element. So we can go from hitting resist to hitting weakness. And I don't think this boss lasts that long either. So yeah, as you can see, this level 4 axe is absolutely destroying everything. So I'm thinking to myself at this point, we got 3 seeds. We're halfway to 6. I don't need a sprite at this point. If I find them, that's fine, but I was thinking to myself, if I don't find the sprite, that's okay. If I don't find Luna, that's also okay. Because we're just gonna have this level 4 axe carry our boss fights. And I do believe I hit my level 4 on the axe back there. Alright, so we got Jabberwocky here. Not too much of a big deal. I did decide to cast speed up on Prim there so she can get her damage out a little bit faster. She does help out a little bit. And down he goes. This is also why I did not want to level up Lumina, because 1, leveling up Lumina is atrocious, and 2, well, let me rephrase that. Leveling up Lumina is atrocious if you're in the wrong situation to do it. If you're in the right situation to level up Lumina, then yeah, do it. But this is certainly not the right situation to use Lumina. Okay, I had to pop this Trap Flower because he's in the middle of casting Sleep Flower, so we don't want to get slapped there. And 2, Lucent Beam is just expensive to use in boss fights. And we got a Snake. So once again, we cast Thunder Saber because snakes are weak to thunder. And we've got a level 4 axe that's Earth Element. We don't want that, so we want to change the axe's element from Earth to Thunder, and I believe that was 466 damage there on that snake. Yeah. And we ended up 2-shotting that guy. I was actually surprised right there that I 2-shot that guy. Okay, we find the spear, which we don't care at this point. I'm thinking I must have hit a crit on that second hit on the snake boss there. Alright, so we cast another speed up on the board just to refresh the timer. It hits level 3, and now we're starting to take a little bit of damage because, again, it's 3.0 XP multiplier, and these enemies are scaling faster than they normally do. So I decided to put Defender on both the boy and the girl here. Just so we don't get, smacked up and get statused and whatnot. Alright, so next boss is a Gorgon Bull, which is slightly annoying. But it's Thunder Saber food. Now, I was thinking about AI manipulating him, but it's really not necessary. So it doesn't take too long to actually kill this guy. Yeah, there he goes. Thunder Saber doing some serious work in Pure Land for sure. We've already fought, what, 3 wind weak bosses here? Mantis Ant's weak to wind, Gorgon Bull is weak to wind, Dragon Worm is weak to wind as well. So yeah, Sylphid's having a good time here. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I got Sylphid because, yeah, Sylphid is actually doing some work here. We also get the Wind Seed off of that last check too, so that brings the total up to 4 seeds. And we know we need 6, so the seed's not quite over yet. Alright, so last boss is the Metal Mantis. Again, not too much of a big deal. We have a super strong axe. Of course, these enemies and bosses are scaling, so they are taking a little bit less damage. And they have more HP, but it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. So in situations like this, I mean, you can say that you need Luna, but you really don't. Like I said earlier, Luna is just the icing on the cake in a situation like this. If I had Luna, we'd be killing these bosses even faster, but we don't have her, but it's okay. It's not a situation where you absolutely need to have Luna, but she's just nice to have. If you don't have her, then that's fine. We can still crush these bosses with just Gnome and Sylphid. Alright, so we get to the Mana Tree. We don't have enough seeds, obviously. We still need to find 2 more. So now my thought process is it's disabled hints. And we are like level 14, I think. So I don't want to kill a bunch of bosses if I can avoid it. So my thought process here was I want to follow chains. I want to go up the complexity ladder. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to go up the complexity ladder. And the quickest way to go up the complexity ladder here is to turn in the Wind Seed. Because we know the Wind Seed, we just got it a few minutes ago. The Wind Seed is actually, I think, complexity 2 or 3. I think it's 2 though. Oh, we stop here and we see Tiger Caps and Fancy Overalls. So I decided to upgrade my armor a bit here, which is kind of neat. And we got some walnuts just in case. But yeah, we want to go up the complexity ladder just in case the game is cheeky enough to, you know, throw some mana seeds up the ladder, which sometimes it does. Alright, so we put on our newly bought Tiger Caps and Fancy Overalls on our duo here. We don't want to forge. We have full MP. Well, we don't now. We want to sleep and we want to save. But yeah, I wanted to go up the complexity ladder, so that's why I decided to go for the Wind Seed pedestal at this point. Because the Wind Seed is complexity 2. I'm sure it's complexity 2. And I'd rather do this than to just blind check stuff at this point. Because again, we have no hints. I could make a play for Witch's Castle, but I didn't want to. Alright, so we find a vampire here, so now is when we start to use Lumina magic. And this is a situation where I feel Lightsaber is superior to Lucent Beam, because although Lightsaber is 5 MP, we have a level 4 axe. So we can just smack this vampire up pretty good. And you're noticing I'm kind of using Prim as a shield here. So the vampire targets her instead of the boy. Because 1, she can take the damage, and she's got enough magic defense. And 2, we don't want the boss interrupting our charges. And I'm surprised that didn't hit right there. So I think I needed one more charge. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Vampire is kind of random in its movement sometimes, so you can't really know where it's going to go. It also depends on the arena too. So that could have been a little bit of a more smoother fight, but Vampire decided to just go everywhere, and yeah. So we hit level 15. We check the pedestal, and we find the Dark Seed. So now I'm thinking, okay, I want to go up the complexity ladder even further. So I decided to save and then go check the Dark Seed pedestal. We already cleared the way to the pedestal earlier when we went for those free checks. So now I pretty much have to walk in there and go straight to Lime Slime. And that's what we do. Yeah, so like I said, I felt as though it's better than just blind checking stuff. I mean, of course we're still blind checking in this situation, but we're further up the complexity ladder. So this happens to be complexity 3, I want to say. And I think my speed up got canceled right there by hitting that switch. I think it did. I'm not sure. Alright, so we got the ketchup slime for this seed. This one is a little bit dangerous to use charge attacks because he has access to Dispel. So I was hoping and praying that he didn't Dispel the boy here. But I don't think he ended up casting anything here, if I remember correctly. I think he just dies. Yeah, he just dies. Because sometimes the Lime Slime can go crazy with the shade magic and just be annoying. But thankfully he didn't cast any spells there. More importantly, he didn't cast Dispel on my boy. Because other times he'll just spam Dispel and Dark Force and Evil Gate. So, like I said, Lime Slime can be annoying when it wants to be. Alright, so we check the Dark Seed pedestal and we find the Earth Seed, which will be the 6th and final seed that we need. So that is the end of the run. So yeah, not that bad of a seed. Of course, we don't know where the Fiery Seed is. We don't know where the Dryad Seed is. And frankly, I didn't care. We know they weren't free because we checked all of our freebies. So they're probably behind bosses or whatnot. Alright, so 45:06 is our time for this seed of the week. But yeah, the main thing that you have to know about the seed is the 3.0 XP multiplier. And I said this earlier, 3.0 XP multiplier is one of the worst flags there is, because if you find yourself in a situation, if you find yourself on a seed that has high complexity, like complexity 6 or 7 or something crazy like that, you're forced to kill bosses. And the more bosses you kill, the harder the seed is going to get. It's especially if you don't have access to a lot of money, which I can't really say that we have access to a lot of money on this seed or not. The enemies are randomized, for one thing. There's random enemy spawns, so we don't know what's going to drop gold. And 2, it's one of those seeds where you can't rely solely on armor. You just can't. Because on 3.0 XP multiplier, your armor is going to get outscaled faster than it normally does. Because, of course, the enemies are giving out much more experience than they usually do. Bosses give out much more experience than they usually do, which forces you to level up faster, which in turn spikes up their scaling faster. And that is what you don't want on a seed with a high complexity. Now, I don't know if this is a high complexity seed or not. I think we got to complexity 4. That's where the Earth seed was. I want to say it's complexity 4. Let me see. Flamey Drum, Pandora Ruins, that's complexity 0. Water Seed was free, so that's 0. Light Seed was through. The Light Seed was in the treasury, so that wasn't free. So that's complexity 0. And then we had the Moon Seed at Tasnica, so that was complexity 0. The boy and the axe that he came with, I want to say he's complexity 1. I think. Yeah, I think he's complexity 1 because we don't know what the Upperland Orb was. So the game may have wanted us to find the sprite. The sprite might be early, for all we know. The sprite, I'm thinking the sprite is early. If the Upperland Orb is anything but, you know... Now that I think about it, it could have been Lumina, because we found Lumina on the sword pedestal. But the thing is, the sword was locked behind the axe, and the axe was on the boy. So I'm thinking the Upperland Orb had to be something else, which means the sprite must have been early. Yeah, I'm thinking the sprite was early somewhere. But anywho, boy, I'm pretty sure it's complexity 1 with the axe, which would make the Wind Seed complexity 1 as well. Because, I'm sorry, no. Axe was complexity 1, so Wind Seed would be complexity 2 actually, because you need a cutting weapon to get to it. So Wind Seed is complexity 2. Wind Seed led to the Dark Seed. So the Dark Seed would be complexity 3. And then the Dark Seed led to the Earth Seed. So the Earth Seed would be complexity 4. So yeah, this is... we got to complexity 4. I don't know if there's any other seeds beyond that. It could be. We don't know because we never found them. But yeah, it's one of those seeds where you have to be extremely careful with your leveling. It's also a seed where if you decide to take a bunch of bosses and you don't find anything as far as progression, then you just want to save split. This is a seed where you do want to save split absolutely everything that you don't need, because you want to keep those levels down, you want to keep that scaling down as much as you can. It's also a seed that will punish you if you do Pure Land too late. It will punish you unless you have, you know, unless the runner finds, say, the sprite, or finds, you know, now that I think about it, sprite has to be early somewhere, right? I'm thinking he might be mid-fall. I'm thinking he's early though, because like I said, Lumina was locked behind a cutting weapon, so, and the cutting weapon was on the boy at Northtown Ruins. So yeah, I'm thinking that Upperland Orb was sprite required. So sprite has to be early. What did we find early game? We found Gnome, Undini. No, Undini was Northtown Castle. Sylphid was Ice Palace. We don't know what Salamander is. We don't know what Shade is. Lumina was cutting weapon locked. Luna, we don't know. Dryad, we don't know. So it could have been any one of those. And as far as mana seeds, we found what? The Water Seed, Light Seed, early game anyway. So at least 2 mana seeds and a sprite. I don't know. I mean, I think this. I don't know. I think I ran this pretty well. Because we never found the sprite, of course. I'm thinking he's early for sure. But as far as my freebies route, like I said, I wanted to make sure I ended on the western side of the world so I could just jump on over to Pure Land. And I wanted to do Pure Land as early as possible. We want to get those bosses out of the way. I wasn't concerned about having, 5 seeds at the point or 6 seeds or whatever. But I just wanted to get them done because 3.0 XP multiplier is one of the most annoying flags there is. And it may not seem like it, but trust me, it is. As far as other routes are concerned, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we don't know where the fire seed is. We don't know where the dryad seed is. So maybe one of those seeds is sitting early game somewhere. Who knows? But I felt as though my route was pretty good. Only hiccup I think was checking the shop at Dwarf Village and buying that chain vest and the Cobra bracelet. I think I should have just peeked the shop at the very least, but not buy anything. Especially after finding that gold key. I think I should have just left that shop alone. But it is what it is. Alright, anywho, 4506 is our time for this seed of the week, number 257. Yeah, I don't know how the other runners will do this seed. If they found the sprite, then good for them, I guess. But if they decided to do what I did and just run with gnome and a good weapon, that axe on the board was absolutely insane though. Level 4 dragon damage, strength, and stone. Well, we didn't need the stone part, but the strength, not to mention he had power list too. So yeah. With that said, I will see you all next time.